Follow along, Catholic Pilgrims, as we follow French Doctor of the Church, St. Francis de Sales, through his book, Introduction to the Devout Life. Tune in as we read through this practical guide for living out the Catholic faith well. Fellow Pilgrims, welcome to our reading today. Most Catholics know and understand that we need to go to Mass on Sunday. It is an obligation, and while that is a dirty word in our culture, it needn't be. We are obliged to give a meager 1 hour to God once a week. It's not too much to ask. There are certain things about receiving Holy Communion at Sunday Mass that are extremely important that we are aware of. A few things are: 1, you cannot receive Holy Communion if you have mortal sin on your soul. It's still vital that you go to Mass. You just need to refrain from communion until you go to confession. So go to confession. Number 2, a weekday Mass does not make up for a Sunday Mass. You can't on purpose miss Mass on Sunday and say, well, I'll just go on Tuesday. Sunday is the Lord's Day, and we must keep it. Number 3, you can miss Mass on Sunday, but only for a grave reason. And kids' sporting events are not a grave reason. But what if we do receive Holy Communion more frequently at daily Mass? What does St. Francis have to say about that? Well, we are going to find out today as we read in chapter 20 of the second part. Chapter 20, Frequent Communion. It is said that Mithridates, king of Pontus, having invented the Mithridate, was so strengthened by means of it that when at a later period he tried to poison himself in order to escape the Roman yoke, he found it impossible. Our blessed Lord has instituted the most holy sacrament of the Eucharist, wherein is his flesh and his blood, that whosoever eats thereof may have eternal life. Therefore he who frequently and devoutly feeds thereon so strengthens the life and health of his soul that it can scarcely be poisoned by any evil passions. No one can be fed with the bread of life and yet live upon dead affections. And as in Eden there was no death for the body owing to the living fruits which God had placed there, so those who eat of this sacrament of life shall find no death for their souls. If the most delicate and perishable fruits, such as strawberries, cherries, and apricots, can easily be preserved the whole year by means of sugar or honey, surely it is no great marvel that our hearts, albeit frail and weak, should be preserved from the corruption of sin when they are immersed in the sweetness of the incorruptible body and blood of the Son of God. O Philothea, surely those Christians who are condemned at the last day will be able to make no reply when the judge reproaches them with their spiritual death, since they might so easily have preserved both life and health by feeding upon his body given to them for that intent. Unhappy men, he will say, why would ye die when the fruit of life lay within your grasp? I neither exhort you to receive the Blessed Sacrament daily, nor do I forbid it, but I do exhort you every one to communicate at least every Sunday, if his heart be pure from affection to sin. In this I follow St. Augustine, who neither enjoined nor blamed the practice of daily communion, leaving that to the judgment of each person's spiritual guide. For on so nice and important a point, it is scarcely possible to give any general rule. Inasmuch as the requisite dispositions for so great a privilege may often be found in some pious and devout persons, it is best neither to counsel it generally nor dissuade, but leave it to be decided according to the individual needs of each. For whilst it would be unwise indiscriminately to recommend daily communion, it would be equally unwise to blame anyone for it, especially when under the guidance of a prudent director. When fault was found with St. Catherine of Siena on account of her frequent communion, and St. Augustine brought forward as an authority, who neither enjoined nor condemned it as a daily practice, well then, she replied, if St. Augustine did not condemn it, I entreat you not to condemn it either, and I shall be content. But St. Augustine strongly recommends and exhorts us to communicate every Sunday, therefore adhere to that rule. If, as I doubt not, you have no sort of affection to mortal sin and no consent to venial sin, you are in that frame of mind which St. Augustine requires. And even more, if you not only give no consent to sin, but have no attachment to any kind of sin, you may communicate as much oftener as your spiritual father permits. Nevertheless, there are certain lawful impediments which may arise without any fault of yours, but through those with whom you live, which may induce a wise director to hinder you from such frequent communion. For instance, if you are in a dependent position and those to whom you owe obedience and reverence are so ignorant or so unaccommodating as to be dissatisfied at your frequent communions, it may, under peculiar circumstances, be well for you to condescend to their weakness and not communicate oftener than once a fortnight, but only in case you can by no other means overcome the difficulty. But this is another point concerning which I can give no general rule, but must leave such to the direction of their own spiritual father. Only I should say that no one who really desires to seek God in the devout life can communicate less than once a month at the very least. If you give good heed, neither father nor mother, husband nor wife will really oppose your frequent communions, for you will be careful that they do not interfere with the duties of your station. You will be still kinder and more gentle in your demeanor toward your neighbors, and not refuse them any service or assistance, so that they can hardly seek to interfere with what causes them no inconvenience, unless they are extremely fanciful and unreasonable, in which case your director may advise that you should yield to them. I must say here a word to the married. In the old law, God disapproved that creditors should exact their debts upon festival days, but he never disapproved of debtors paying that which was owing if demanded on these days. This rule should be the guide of the married in regard to their mutual obligation. It is unbecoming to ask on the day of communion that which, however, it would be meritorious to pay if demanded. No one, therefore, should be debarred from Holy Communion by compliance in this matter, if their devotion causes them to desire it. In the primitive church, Christians communicated every day, although they were married and blessed with children. Whence I infer that frequent communion is by no means inconsistent with the state of a parent, husband, or wife, provided that the person who communicates be discreet and prudent. As to bodily maladies, there are none which lawfully impede communion, save such as cause frequent vomiting. Those who would communicate weekly must be free from all mortal sin and all affection to venial sin, desiring earnestly to communicate. But those who would daily approach the holy altar must still further have overcome in great part their evil inclinations, nor should any come without the advice of their spiritual guide. For almost the last year since living here in Montgomery, my son and I have been attending daily Mass, and it has been life-changing. To be honest, it was my son's idea, my 10-year-old son's idea. Because he is homeschooled, he gets to altar serve on Mondays and Fridays all by himself, and he really enjoys that. And the daily Mass goers just absolutely love him. Recently, my husband came up to me and gave me a hug and said, "You've always been a wonderful wife, but this past year you have grown in such a good way, and you really make me appreciate even more having you to come home to." And I smiled at him and said, "It's because of daily Mass." And he said, "I think you're right." Now, I don't say this to blow my own horn. I didn't cause this change to occur. Christ has done the work, and the frequent communion with him has been life-giving. But I want to make clear the church does not require us to go to daily Mass, and I don't want people to feel pressured to go to daily Mass or feel like they aren't being a good Catholic if they don't. I'm at a point in my life where I can. I don't work outside the home. I don't have little ones. I homeschool only one kid now, and it fits in our schedule, and I live very, very close to the church. St. Francis says, quote, I neither exhort you to receive the Blessed Sacrament daily, nor do I forbid it. But I do exhort everyone to communicate at least every Sunday, if his heart be pure from affection to sin, unquote. He continues, quote, it is best neither to counsel it generally nor dissuade, but leave it to be decided according to the individual needs of each, unquote. And why is he saying this? Well, the church does not require us to receive Holy Communion daily, and so we should not be pressuring people into doing it. Nor should we try to dissuade people by calling them too pious or telling them that they're just trying to be better than everybody else. I completely understand why everyone can't go to daily Mass, but I also understand why there are people that don't want to miss it. Most of the daily Mass goers in attendance at my church are retired people, and daily Mass is a perfect thing for them to attend. It might be too much, though, for a mom to get a bunch of little ones out the door every day without the help of her husband. For all these reasons and more, we should be gracious and be happy for those who can attend daily Mass and understanding of those that cannot because of other life situations. That is all for today, Catholic Pilgrims. Have a very blessed day, and until next time, live the faith boldly and travel well.